Okay. So first of all, tell me where can you find all the Esnap guide? Anyone? Type in your checkbox. Tell me where can you find Esnap guide? Stay engaged. Anyone? Great answer, Joy. So, so under HUD Exchange, let me just go back to the front page. This box is gonna stay there just to block out some login information. Don't mind it. So on the HUD Exchange, they changed their web page. If you log on like recently, now it's pretty easy. Everything related to the competition, it's under the front page. So if you go to the front page, scroll down, you're going to see the instruction guide and resource. This is pretty awesome, and this year they really give out even more information about filling out forms and things like that, even how to complete 2AA0. So you are going to, and today's webinar, we are going to mostly focus on renewal. Also, new project probably going to be pretty similar, but I'm going to mostly focus on renewal. So for the renewal, you will click this, and then this 3 guide is what you need. The first guide is pretty much tells you how to use eSnap interface. It's not a guide for you to explain how to answer the question. That's the second one. That's this detailed guide is gonna tell you exactly how you should answer your question, things like that. And then this year they also give out a separate guide for 2AA0. I personally recognize I've been doing 2AA0 wrong, so I hope you all pay attention to this 2AA0 and find it very helpful. It actually answers a lot of questions that I used to have and completed correctly. And this year, all the form will be built into your application. So you don't need to submit any paper form, like scan them and stuff like that. You don't need to do that anymore. Okay, so let's go into eSnap. So first of all, hope you all have password. If you don't have a password, I don't have it. So this is not HMIS. I cannot help you reset your password. You can reset it through the web page. Once you log in, the first thing I want to mention is this area. Most of you only have one applicant, but there's certain agency, they may have created their different applicant before this area. So then you may have 2. So like for Homeless Alliance, we have 2. Then we need to be very careful where I am at. Most likely the one that have more than 1 is it's because error or something like that. So once you choose one or the other, you will see how many projects you have. If that applicant does not have any project, or only have a few projects that doesn't really make sense, then that's not the one you want to use. You want to use the one that have the most project and all the submission associated with. Okay, so under applicant, if you click open, anything in here you want to click the actual folder so that you can open up. So this thing, it's auto it says completed, most likely because you completed last year. So what you need to do to update the 2AA0, you will have to go to submission panel, go to the left panel and click submission, and then click edit. Once you click edit, you can go to any, for example, if you staff change, things like that, you can edit it. And then you also can edit 2AA0. As you see in the screen, you do not need to submit a form or scan a form anymore. It's all built in. Probably because HUD realized that so many of us did this wrong, so they rather just build it in, right? So you scroll down, you're gonna answer this part, and then for example, like this part, I didn't know you have to type in NA or like 0, things like that. So please read that 2AA0 guide, and it will tell you more. Okay, back to once you finish this part, you go to funding opportunity, and then you will register. So this part is pretty simple. You click the little check mark to register, and then you will just click a button, and then you will be registered. Once you register, usually this is fine. Everyone doing great here. This is the part that so many people ask me question. So once you register, you go to project. This is the tricky part that everyone seems not doing it right. So once you register, you will see this renewal project application, FY2017. Can you guys hear somebody vacuuming outside of my office? Is it bothering you? No? Okay, great. All right. That's good. It kind of bothers me, but I'm glad you guys can't hear it. Okay, so once you select renew project, okay, let me go back. When you are in this screen, you cannot see this button, little button here, right? Only if you go to renew project 2017, and then this magical button show up. Okay, this is very important. Every year I get at least 5 phone calls ask me where is this button. So please remember it's right here only if you select this. Okay, everyone got it? Okay, once you do that, you will be able to add a project. Okay, so someone said I should slow down a little bit. Let me go back to, I want everyone to be able to follow, okay? So register, you click register, because sorry that I already registered, so you can't really follow with me, but you click this register button, and then something here would just show up, and then you just need to say yes, you want to register, something like that. Once you register, you go to funding opportunity. Oh, sorry. You go to project, and then under funding opportunity, you select either new project application or renewal project application, and then this is the key step. This is key step. You need to select this, and then this will show up. Okay, once that show up, you click that, add a project. This year, I don't know if every year is like this, but this year particularly, I noticed you can import data. So you pretty much don't need to answer most of the question because most of them would be already be answered. So yeah, right? You're probably gonna able to submit your application in 10 minutes. You choose whatever you want to import the data from. Like obviously you will want to import it from the most recent one. So make sure you select the right one, okay? And then the application project name. What I want everyone to do. Everyone hear this. What I want you to do is instead of just saying housing first, rapid housing, whatever like genetic name, I want you to put something associated with your agency. So for example, if you're rapid housing, let's say Med Urban, you'll put Med Urban rapid housing. Or if you are PSH, you'll put, let's say, Evergreen PSH 1 or 2 or whatever. Or if you are, Shelter Plus Care, it's pretty clear. You just put Shelter Plus Care 9 or whatever that is. But sometimes it's so hard to recognize which project is that based on the project name. So I want you to put your agency name so that I can easier to recognize who that is. And if you did not do that already, and you already created this, you can always go back to change the name. It would not impact anything, okay? So, actually, I don't need to save them back. Just cancel. All right, so now I have a register project. You will go to submission, next step. So for those who have audio, you can mute yourself for now. If you have question, type in the chat box, or any feedback, type in the chat box so I can see you have a question or you have a comment, okay? So the next is submission. Once you create your project, you can find your project based on your name. You don't have to look all over, right? There's so many the same name of the same stuff in here. What you can do, I remember I type in NY508 HMIS, so I'm gonna just filter that. And then you're going to see everything under that same name. So this is what you'll see. Renew project application 2017. Okay. And then you will click this yellow box here. All right. Once you get into the actual application, give me 1 second. I actually should cover this part too. Okay. So once you get into the actual application, this is one thing also changed this year. Every year, every single year, people type this wrong or leave it as the old grand what's this thing called grand number. So HUD trying to avoid, in order to avoid people putting a wrong number in there, they just get rid of it. So what it left is this 6-digit number that will never change through with the grant year increase. It will stay exact the same for if you do not know what that is. It probably, if you import from last year, it will probably automatically show up. But if you want to verify it, you can also look at the GIW to verify it. But you pretty much do not need to type in anything this year. So that's pretty awesome, right? And then you will say you confirmed it, and then move on to the next page. I'm not gonna go over it like one by one. I just want to show you some of the things that changed. Here, it's another thing that every year people will do wrong. So, sorry to annoy you with this circle, but I want everyone pay attention. The GIW? Yes, I can. So Byron asked if I can send the GIW. Yes, I can send it to people. I believe everyone have access to the share dot, but I will resend it to everyone. Okay, so continue. So this part, it's proposed project. It's not your old project, right? So when you just log into here, you're gonna see this, right? This is from import from my last year. It will say start date March 1st. I mean, for some of you, may be confusing because your start date may be October or whatever. But for most of us, the start date is already passed. So obviously, I'm not proposing a project for the past, right? I'm proposing for the future. So I'm going to change it to 2018 and 2019. So remember this. Okay, change it. Don't propose something for the past. Okay, so your 2880 is gonna show up, whatever you type in, it's gonna show up here. You will notice this part will automatically filled out as what you request. So you don't really want to type this part of money into this part because it will show up as like you have done both. So this part should be whatever you don't receive directly from HUD, I believe. So I used to put this part, put our planning grant, for example, in here, or and then it's turned out not very make sense. So if you filled out the 2880, you pretty much don't need to do anything here anymore. It will automatically fill out here, and then you just need to click agree. So all the important form that we used to do in applicant profile, we will not need to do that anymore. We will just need to go to that and then click yes. Is it super simple this year? We should applaud for HUD. Okay, so another little checkbox, you check it. Once you check all that, everyone notice I have a lot more questions show up. So all this additional question will only show up once you finish all the form. And then you will just keep checking it, keep saying yes, yes to all the form. Are you lobbying? Yes or no? Things like that. And then it will be all complete. So now I'm going to switch to one of the housing provider because it's pointless to look at HMI's application. Nobody nobody really need to fill that out. So I'm gonna switch provider. Give me 1 second. Okay. So 2B. Here you go. Okay, so this year, a big change. Once you complete all the form and then scroll down to the bottom, you're going to see something called submission without change. Submission without change is a fantastic way for HUD and for all the applicants to submit something and for them, they don't need to review anything they already review. For you, you don't have to edit anything that you already approved by HUD. So HUD is brilliant by giving you this choice. However, I believe not everyone can submit totally without change, right? There are some change happening in the application. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and you can decide how much change there is. So let me see. No. So for those who, well, there's actually nobody reduced this year, so you're all gonna say no here. So do you wish to submit this without change? Obviously, you could say that, but I will be cautious about that. But even making change, they ask you, this is another brilliant thing that HUD did this year, is that they are allowing you to edit some of the things that that you make changes, but also allowing you to keep the other part so that they don't need to review the other part that they already approved. Does that make sense, everybody? Everybody following me? So you have to do this submit without change thing first. Click that, and then you will choose make changes, because I believe most likely you're gonna make some changes, right? So you're gonna come here and answer some of the, select whatever changes you want to make. Let's say I'm gonna make changes of some of this stuff, but I'm not gonna change funding request, but right, because I'm still requesting the same amount of funding. And then see how it goes. You can go come back and forth with it. That mean, so Joy have a question. Would that mean you could change the budget here instead of doing a budget mod? No, that is not the place to change budget. So I'm gonna repeat Joy's question again. Would that mean you could change the budget here instead of doing a budget mod? No, that's not the case. So you're still going to submit your budget as GIW. However, this year's budget, it's a lot simpler. You don't need to look at this. There's no supportive service. So all they're doing is the unit, right? And then it's a summary. So this year they also simplify the budget. Okay, everybody else, stay engaged. If you have questions, put in the chat box, okay? All right, so you can come back and forth if you, let's say, oh, I don't think I need to change this, but then later you realize you need to change it, you can come in this tab and click change. And then I'm gonna hit save. Okay, the first thing I want to talk about is the 2B. So every year, there's people have unspent fund or their unspent fund, or they have some monitor issue, things like that. We want you to explain that to HUD, because every year HUD also asks us if we are reallocating the unspent fund. So the better you can explain here, the better justify why we're not reallocating your unspent fund. So some people would say, client contribute money, so we have unspent fund. That's not a good answer. Okay, so if that is really, that is really the case, I understand that, but from a unspent fund and HUD reallocation perspective, that's not a good answer. You need to answer what you're doing next year to avoid unspent fund. For example, Erie County do very well with some drawdown dashboard. Maybe you monitor your drawdown. Maybe you increase client serve. Maybe you change budget, like do budget mob and move some money to services, move some money to admin, things like that. So you need to explain to HUD why we're not reallocating your money. It's not just you explaining to us. It's part of explaining to HUD that why we do not reallocate your money. Okay. So Susan asked if the training video would be available. Yes, I'm recording it. I don't know how well it recorded, but I will take a look afterward and I will hopefully post it on our website or just email you all. Okay. So please explain, because this is telling HUD why we're not cutting you. For those, of course, for those who have unspent fund. For those don't, then it doesn't matter. Unspent fund, and then 3B. Okay, so this part often confusing. This part here, it kind of confused me as well. All it says in the guidebook is this does not mean you have to serve that population. All it means is you have the ability to serve that population. But I don't think it matters very much. So I would say check as many apply to you as possible, but again, I don't think it's that critical in a way. Housing first. I think through the past few years, less and less people do this wrong. You just pretty much check all the box and making sure your policy and procedure align with all the things that you're checking. Okay, new thing. This is 100% new. I'm gonna just circle it. I know everyone is dizzy watching this, but dedicated plus. So dedicated plus, it's a brand new idea. I'm gonna spend a minute talk about it. It does not apply to any rapid warehousing project. So for a minute, rapid warehousing project can, rest a little bit. It only applies to PSH. For all PSH, this year HUD do not ask you prioritize that anymore. They ask you if you want to become a dedicated project or dedicated plus. So what it means, as we all know, dedicated project means you serve 100% chronically homeless, especially those only those that meet the HUD definition. And dedicated plus means you can serve people kind of on the borderline of meeting the definition, like people meet the 12 months but do not meet the 4 times. Yeah, so Nadia asked why she can't see this 3C. So for safe haven or rapid housing, you are not going to see this. This only apply to PSH and PSH only. So for all PSH, you're going to see this question. Back to dedicated plus. So you can also serve, for dedicated plus, you can also serve people stay at transitional housing but kind of meet the chronic definition, or serve those who stay in bridger housing, things like that. But what I have to say is for our CoC, dedicated plus and dedicated, it's the same, because we almost end chronically homeless, and we open our priority to all the category that listed here. So choosing to be dedicated plus and dedicated, it's pretty close to equal. But what I think we should do is this year for those who already 100% dedicated, I would like you to continue be 100% dedicated, because it impacts our HIC number. So for those who previously prioritizing bed, I would like you to select dedicated plus. Overall, we need 90% of the total PSH bed be either dedicated or dedicated plus. And to my experience, and also from the tone HUD explained this, it seems like they still want people be dedicated, but they're open to the idea of dedicated plus. So I would not want to decrease any dedicated bed, but just increase as many dedicated plus as we can. So again, everyone who used to be dedicated should continue select dedicated. For those who used to be prioritized, you can select dedicated or dedicated plus. If you don't feel as comfortable select dedicated this year, select dedicated plus for this year, just to kind of gradually move towards that, right? So you will select one or the other, and then you will move on to next. I'm not going to select it right now, but you know what I mean. Okay, so this will cause this be different. So every year, this part also is the part that for those who prioritize bed often make mistake here, because when we do prioritizing, we need to calculate turnover bed and all that. But as far as I can read, if you select, so first of all, it will auto-populate a number. So for people who are dedicated, you keep that number as it is. For people who are prioritized before, what I want you to do is, now first you will choose dedicated plus. Second, here you will match this number as this total bed number. So you will dedicated plus everything you have. What it means is not only the turnover bad this year, but future year you are all dedicated to chronically homeless and chronically homeless plus people. So this number should not be a turnover number, but a total number of bad. Everyone following there? Okay, again, this is the most confusing part, especially for rapid warehousing client. Okay, so we're done with the dedicated plus stuff. Rapid warehousing and PSH both need to hear about this. So, sorry, don't restart now. I don't know what that happened. Anyway, sorry about that. So, for this part, what happened is this need to be when this need to capture your program when you're in full capacity, not when you not right now, not in the past. It's when you're in full capacity. So for rapid warehousing, it's a somewhat confusing concept because you're constantly changing, right? You just need to do your best and evaluate how many households you can serve in your full capacity. Also, HUD specifically say this year that you do not need to so for those get funded in 2015, for example, you are all required to serve family that year. But then later on, HUD open to able to serve single and youth and DV, things like that. So this year, they're allowing you to open to serve any population you want. So for a continued purpose, we probably want you to stay pretty similar to what you originally proposed. So you don't really need to worry about it. I did make some recommendations for those who already serving youth who are under 24. For example, like people who are serving family in your rapid warehousing, who also serve youth, also pay a little attention to that category, which is right here. Dedicate some bed to age between 18 to 24. Sorry, I'm reading. Don have a question. I'll get back to you once I finish this part. Okay, so I want you to maybe dedicate some bed to this 18 to 24 years old population if you already serving them. But again, overall, this is the total population. What is tricky is between this and the next tab. The last one is mutually exclusive. So people who are, let me go back to it. People who are 18 to 24 should not be age over 24 household, right? They're mutually exclusive. And people who without children should not be with the children in the same time. Or people only with children should not be with adults sometime. So this is mutually exclusive tab. But this tab, on the other hand, it's not necessarily mutually exclusive besides this dark gray part. So for those who dedicated 100% to chronic or dedicated plus, you should be careful with this part, because all your bed now should be either dedicated or dedicated plus. So you should have a lot more bed under this chronic. And for those who do not dedicated to veteran, you do not need to select chronic homeless veteran. You just select chronic homeless non-veteran. So majority, besides Celia's program, you should all select this part for PSH, right? You should put most of your bed in this part, like this project here. And then the rest of the part, that's where it's a little confusing because it's not mutually exclusive. So what you need to do is get a somewhat estimation how many people have dual diagnosis, for example, how many people may have domestic violence. And for rapid housing, often this is even more confusing because not everyone will meet one of this. So there's often some may meet none of them. Then you should put the number here and explain those number. Those people maybe, and explain it. This year they don't even let you explain it. So I would say put very few people in here because I do believe most of them do either have domestic violence or have some sort of disability. But for people who serving rapid housing, that's not necessarily the case. So you can still put some people under the not representative in the subpopulation. I mean, it used to let you explain. Maybe I'm not in the rapid housing, so it doesn't let me explain. If you have that explain box, please make sure you explain this well. So those people would be, for example, very low income, right? Or have high vulnerability, like they may be assaulted, they may have criminal background, things like that. Just list those things so that HUD understand you are not just serving a easy population. They are also have a lot of barrier. Okay, so now I'm going to get back to Dawn's question about the bed. 3, which is under 3, no, it's under this one, 4B.
Was it there?
Hi, Dawn, do you want to just explain your question?
I can't remember which screen you were on, but it's the one where you select the counties that you're going to serve.
Mm-hmm.
And last week at the Erie County put on a HUD training, and we had Elizabeth McClam over, and Elizabeth made the comment that if we have direct grants because of the wider range of the CoC, she said we could serve people in one of the other counties that we previously couldn't because we were either the CoC wasn't covering that area or our grants were restricted in the past. So I'm just wondering if we can expand to those other counties, should we be listing them?
Did she specifically say you can just change it here, or you have to do like amendment?
She didn't even indicate an amendment. She just said because of the way the CoC is structured, you can expand and serve people in those other areas.
Yeah,
I didn't really see any restrictions on it.
Okay. Without further investigation, I do believe you can select more area here.
Okay.
So for those, especially for those have scattered site, because scalar site can be anywhere, right? I do
Right.
recommend everyone look into your geographic area, like where you're comfortable serving, so we can cover Erie, Niagara, Genesee, Wyoming, Orleans County. So if you're willing to serve those area, please in here select those area. Okay.
Okay.
For example, if you want to expand to Genesee, in here you should indicate that everyone. It's for everyone. Okay. And for those who already did amendment to agree to serve a wider geographic area, you should also indicate this. And thank you, Don, for bringing this up. I feel last year, even for those who expanded, they did not indicate it here, which impact our 2991. So I would recommend everyone to look at this and, if possibly, expand the service geographic area. Okay, so Jessica have another question about maybe the geographic area. Yes, you will still take referral from coordinate entry. So let's say Don want to serve. No, that's not your question. Do you wanna? It's not a question. Oh, okay. So let me just explain the geographic area a little bit. Even you dedicated to serve Erie, Niagara, and Genesee, let's say, you still need to follow the coordinate entry. So if you are serving all area, we'll just based on everybody prioritize the same way. So Genesee area would not get like a preference in this way. It will based on the client's vulnerability. If you dedicated to serve, let's say Niagara, for example, then we will give preference differently because you will only receive referral specifically for Niagara County, right? So based on your choices, we're going to send you referral a little bit differently. Okay, so lastly, the budget part. As I said, you do not need to answer all those service question. Also, I believe the you still need to answer this question, like how many unit, and then calculate it to a total, but most likely you don't need to change that. But then see, you don't need to answer the supportive service anymore. You go right to the budget and type in the service, which will import from last year. So you will see your supportive service line and operating, if you have any operating, things like that. Do not do budget amendment here. All should follow GIW. If you have some sort of amendment kind of in the process or in between or whatever, you need to confirm with HUD local office. See if that it's approved. Otherwise, you should base everything on the GIW. In the application, local application process, I may have tell you to do the most reasonable budget or future budget or whatever, but here is not the place to do it, okay? Here is the place to follow the exact budget like your GIW. I'm going to send everyone the GIW again so everyone have their own budget line item. And this year, HUD do not ask you for detail of it because they've been reviewing this for so many years. For new project, you'll probably still answer those, but for renewal, you should not need to do that. Okay, and program income will be able to calculate as a match. I did not test this yet, but I believe let's try that together. Maybe because I'm not, let me see. Based on HUD guidebook, if I select program, let me see, cache, private, you can select, you can maybe just write down program participant contribution, something like that, and then you can estimate the amount of participant contribution that is allowed as part of the match. So any question on any of the stuff I talked about today? No question at all. Again, as I said, you should go to the HUD exchange. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Okay, here. Should go to HUD exchange and download this guidebook, but I pretty much cover all the stuff that is new. So I hope this is helpful to all of you. But like I didn't go over the 2880, so please look into those details. And if you need to go back to refer what I said or go back to look at the instruction, I pretty much follow the detailed instruction, and it's pretty. It has like 100 pages, so I don't recommend anybody to print it out. What you should do is when you go to a certain question and you're not so sure how to answer it, then you will maybe look at the specific question. Like let's say, like I don't think Kexing explained the participant very well, then you will go to the participant part of the question and see if you can see if the guidebook says it, like makes some more sense or things like that. So don't print the whole thing because it's 100 page. If you still have any other question, you can always email me, right?